I am in paradise. Right now, I'm lounging in room 1007 at the Hilton Waikiki in Honolulu. My bare feet are propped up on the desk and the refreshing Pacific sea breeze is gushing in through the open glass patio door, whipping my hair into an untamed rat's nest. Fallen for You by Colby Calais continues to flow from my laptop speakers on repeat, and despite the fact that I injudiciously neglected to bring along a pair of swimming trunks, I'm in seventh heaven. In the endearing words of little David himself, is this real life? I grew up in a small town by the name of Owatonna in south central Minnesota. For a shy Midwest boy, the ocean was basically a fairy tale. It was deemed practically unreachable for someone with no means, no good reasons, and no funds to pull a good enough excuse out of thin air to justify the 2-day road trip in either direction. I had no seaside relatives residing on either coast, no beachy colleges or universities I was tempted to register for, and thus for a kid with zero money and no time to steal away, I was shipwrecked in the Midwest. I spent the majority of high school gazing out the window imagining if/when I'd ever be lucky enough to finally visit the Big Blue. I played Wave Race 64 for hours on end, devoured dense literature on shipwreck histories and non-fiction recounts of early sailing expeditions, ocean discoveries, and autobiographies penned by famous ship captains. I also absorbed Jacques Cousteau documentaries like nobody's business. Nobody at school was surprised when my nickname soon became Sea Urchin. I'd seen water before, of course. The northeastern half of Minnesota borders Lake Superior, which I'd visited a handful of times on family vacations. And yeah, it's a mighty gorgeous lake, covering 31,000 square miles and the largest freshwater lake in the world. But I wanted to stroll down miles of white sandy beach, run into the breaking surf, feel the waves rush over my feverish footsies, smell the balmy breeze, taste the salt water in the air, worry about the nightmarish unseen Portuguese men of war wrapping inconspicuous tentacles around my ankles and dragging me down into the depths like that huge sea monster outside the mines of Moria. None of this is really possible in Minnesota. I grew up daydreaming about the ocean. I have no idea why, it just happened that way, and I never thought twice about it. Be it unreasonably peculiar or otherwise, I find the ocean and all its contents more inspiring than anything else out there. Besides music, of course. Fast forward to June of 2008. I was so blown away I could barely catch my breath as I rolled up my skinny jeans and waded knee-deep out into the midnight surf on a quiet moonlit beach in Fairfield, Connecticut. I couldn't even believe it. The Titanic itself sailed and tragically sunk in this thing. It was an ethereal moment of comprehension for me, because the ocean and I had finally brought ourselves to meet for the first time in 22 years. It was a delightful convergence, and the pleasure was by all means mine. Fast forward 2 years later, and here I am at present in the middle of the North Pacific Ocean on a tropical island, in a lavish hotel room 80 feet above Waikiki Beach itself. Much like the wonderstruck emotion that washed over me back in Fairfield, the sense of awe is invigorating. Hawaii is like Dolphin Park from Wave Race 64, but in real life. And I'm so inspired, so stirred, so excited to experience, explore, and discover. All I can do this evening is occasionally run out onto the patio, lean over the railing, and shout an explosive, inarticulate, happy noise at the top of my lungs, which sounds something like, oh! Needless to say, the view from my perch leaves me both thrilled and thankful to be here. However, despite the breathtaking grandeur, I'm surrounded by the most magnificent paradise conceivable, and yet, I have a slight dilemma. I burn. Allow me to elaborate. I have naturally medium brown hair with a hint of auburn, inherited from my dear mother, and that being said, it's no surprise that my complexion also draws similar parallels to hers. My bequeathed coloring may be better described as fair enough rather than simply fair. Factor in a sweltering tropical Waikiki beach, crammed with ripped surfer bros and exquisitely bronzed sunbathers, and we have ourselves an equation that doesn't quite add up. Enter the scrawny, ghostly white kid with rolled up skinny jeans. What kind of stupid imbecile actually forgets his SpongeBob shorts back in Minnesota? And we have ourselves a downright unsolvable mathematical equation. Ladies and gentlemen, I failed a pre-algebra community course in college, a non-credited class required merely to advance into Algebra 101. I vividly recall receiving my freshly graded final exam, slathered in red ink check marks, and cowering in primal fear as my professor climbed atop my desk and towered over me like Gandalf the Grey, bellowing, "You shall not pass!" in my face. There's something about Hawaii I can't quite put my finger on. Perhaps it's the limitless swirling world of blue skies, puffy white clouds, lush rainforests and misty mountains, breezy palm trees and miles of endless sandy beach in all directions. Maybe it's the innumerable oceanside cabana restaurants boasting any variety of Cajun or tropical morsel you can imagine. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but aside from the semi-lengthy flight to/from the island chain, on which I am inevitably seated in either seat B or E between two humongous fat guys who claim both armrests on either border, Hawaii is both tremendously and unequivocally breathtaking. Well worth every agonizing minute spent at 35,000 feet. To pleasantly sum up the mystique, charm, and splendor that is Hawaii, I'll put it this way. There's so much beauty around me. No matter where I point my camera, I can't fit it all in.